Well, good day one and all, and welcome. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat at the moment. Oh, can you all hear me properly? I hope so. I hope you're sitting comfortably with your favourite beverage or libation. Good to see you all. Yes, really nice. Well, thanks, Chris. Awesome. The much anticipated Mixer and Megascans stream that's had a bit of a shaky start, but we're going to get there. Yeah, well, I'm glad the sound's really good. Yeah. Gummy bears and hard seltzer. Nice. Very nice. Well, as you already know, this is all about Mixer and Megascans and their partnership, and the fact that the Quixel Megascans bridge, which accesses the Megascans asset library, and Mixer are like left hand and right hand of a person. They work very well together. They handshake very well together. But there are a lot of things I need to explain with regard to how you get Megascans asset library, the bridge, and how you get the Mixer software itself. Now, both pieces of software, the applications, are free. You don't have to pay anything. Now, before Epic came along, Quixel themselves were a standalone company. They developed Megascans, which is a huge library of what the name implies, photogrammic scans of 3D objects. Now, their library consists more than just these scanned objects with textures and materials. They've got surfaces for roads, walls, they've got brushes for texture painting, they have decals or decals, whichever way you want to pronounce it. They've got vegetation, they've got plants, and it's quite a comprehensive library. And you can access all of the Megascans library in Mixer. Now, this is where it gets a bit complicated because I have to explain the licensing models between the two companies, bearing in mind that they used to be separate companies. So forget Epic for the moment. I'm going to talk about Quixel themselves before Epic came along. They have two real licensing models with Quixel. You can download the Megascans bridge and the Mixer application off the Quixel website without even creating an account with Quixel, but you won't get access to all of their assets. They have three licensing models that allow you to purchase the assets in their Megascans asset library on a point system. Now, there's a monthly, which I think is about $19 Australian a month, give or take. There's an annual license, and there's also a pay-as-you-go once you've created an account on the Quixel website. With the monthly, you get so many points per month. I think it's somewhere around 60 to 90. Can't really remember. You can, when you go in and have a look at which offer that you want to take up, it will show you what it is. If you purchase, or if you go for the annual license, you get all of your points for the year all in one go. The third option is to pay as you go, which can get quite expensive. I think it's around $25 for 80 points or something like that. Now, that's just the Quixel licensing, and you have to log in to both the Megascans Bridge and Mixer with your Quixel account, or as it stands today, when Epic acquired Quixel, they gave users the option to log in with their Epic account, and logging in with your Epic account gave you access to all of the assets, materials, 3D objects for free. Absolutely free. However, there is a downside to it. If you log in with your Epic account into Megascans Bridge or to Mixer, so with the Epic account, you can only export and use their assets, not what you create, but their assets in Unreal Engine. Okay? The export function in Megascans Bridge has quite a long list of 3D applications that you can export to. Now, even though your license agreement with Epic states you can only use it with Unreal, it does not stop you from exporting to Blender, Houdini, Cinema 4D, I don't think Lightwave's in there. Or Marmoset Toolbag. There's quite a few. Unfortunately, the standout missing ones are Daz Studio and Poser. But that's it. That's the way it goes. Now, if you opt for the Quixel licensing, you have to purchase each of the assets using your monthly or annual points. And you can top it up if you run out. They're very reasonably priced points-wise, in that a lot of them are between 1 and 4 points. So that's for the 2D stuff, maybe 5. The 3D assets range from 5 up to 20, give or take. But you're never going to download all of them. You only download what you need, okay? Right, now we get down to, they're the licensing options, and I'll leave it up to you which one you want to go with. Downloading the software. Well, Megascans Bridge is pretty easy. You download it, you install it, and there it is on your desktop. You can download Mixer the same way. Then you log in to whichever of the companies that you have your licensing account with, and you're good to go. The only part of downloading Mixer and installing it is that it is very large. It's around 30 gigabytes because they give you a plethora of smart materials and sample mixers for you to get started with so you can play around with them. But it takes a long time to download, and it takes a long time to install. When you're installing it, it will ask you for the installation folder for Mixer, the location of your Megascans library, and the location for your Mixer library, where all your texture mixes will be kept. Now, I do suggest that you keep it on a larger drive. It gets quite large after a time, and it will fill up your system drive. So if you've got another drive of at least 2 terabytes or 1 to 2 terabytes in your computer, then make sure that you set a path to that drive. Or if you've got an external drive like I have, I've got a NAS device with 20 terabytes on it, and that's where I keep that, well, along with other things. I'm going to post on my Discord under the Mixer channel websites. Oh, sorry, that was my phone. Websites on all the steps when you're installing Bridge and Mixer, and you'll see what I mean. But I'm going to go through it now. And if you ever decide you want to change the location of where the libraries are, you can actually do it in the software itself. But you have to move all the stuff first, and it can get quite complicated. But I think it's time to get started and show you what's going on. Right. I'm going to start with the Megascans bridge. Because it's the backbone, and I'm already signed in with my Epic Games account. And as you can see, well, if I actually show you the screen, whoops, wrong one. What am I doing? Uh-oh. Houston, we have a problem. What is it doing? Oh. I have a little problem here, and I don't know why. Because it's not doing it on that. Why is it doing this? Okay. Hopefully I'm back and it's fixed. What am I doing? That one. Can you all see the screen properly now? I don't know what happened. I had to reboot my machine last night. Well, actually, the power went off yesterday, and what happened was in one of my scene overlays, it's chosen the other screen for some weird ass reason, but now it's fixed. Sorry about that. Right, this is Megascans Bridge. Now, I'm already signed in with my Epic account. So I'm going to sign out here and just show you that you can sign in many, many different ways. Where have you gone? Sign in. Right. I can sign in with Quixel, or I can sign in with my Epic Games account. So I'm just going to sign in with my Epic Games, and hopefully this doesn't go nuts. You can also sign in with your Facebook, with Google, with Xbox Live, with your PlayStation. I mean, there's a plethora that you can sign in with. But you still have to have a license agreement with Epic or with Quixel. And hopefully this isn't going to ask me. Oh, yes, it is. Excuse me, I'll just take this off screen for a minute. Not a really good start. Was not expecting that. And you will get the same login through Mixer as well. So, oh, now I have to go through and choose. Righto. This two-factor authentication drives me nuts. Hello, Daria. Oh, anyway, you log in through Megascans, and as you can see, there's a lot of stuff in here, and you can access all of this through Mixer, which I'm going to show you in a minute. You've got your 3D assets. And there's a whole range of categories: 3D plants, grass, ground cover. Then there's a whole bunch of collections which, if you go into it, try this one. These are all the assets, 3D assets in here, and texture sets that were used to create this up here. And there are a lot of collections, but you will, if you're logged in with your Quixel account, down in the bottom here, there will be a points value on how much each of these is. And if I get time towards the end of the stream, I'll log in with my Quixel account and show you that there'll be a point system attached to each of these assets. There's also the metahumans, which in here I don't really use them. They put out a lot of free stuff every now and again that you can download for nothing. 3D assets, plants, surfaces, decals, atlases, imperfections, brushes. Imperfections are like, you create a layer and you scratch, put scratches on the surface and things like that. I'm doing the hard work. No, I'm pretty cruisy today, to be honest. I slept well last night, which was good. You can add these to, these are all my purchased that I got through when I was using my Quixel account. And you can actually add them to favorites, as you saw up in here. There's a little heart down in the bottom right-hand corner that you can actually, let me go to full screen, little heart down here. If you click that, it will put it into your favorites. So if there's something there you're going to use quite often, just put it in your favorites and then off you go. Local is the Megascans library on my hard drive, my external drive, where all my 3D assets are. And I've got quite a few: plants, ground cover, surfaces, things that I've actually downloaded. Get that back up. Come on. Scroll. Atlases, brushes. Imported are things that I've actually had. I imported from another program. Here's the fascinating part, the mixer. Because of the texture sets and things that I've created in Mixer, you actually get a mixer. That was a bit late, live from down under. I've been on for 5 minutes. In here, these are all the ones that I've created in Mixer. That one there is actually a brush. So, oh, sorry. I'll hit the right button in a minute. That's a brush for texture painting in Mixer, which I will show you this morning as well, or this evening, afternoon, whatever it is. So that's actually bridge. But what I want to show you while I'm here, where am I? Local. Let's just go to a 3D asset. If I click on that, and I have to go back to full screen, otherwise you won't see it. Down in the bottom is an export button. Okay. Now, when you hit that, when you click that button, I've got to stop using the word hit. it will export it to whichever was the default application you set it to previously. You can change which application you're going to export it to with the little gear icon down here. You can also change the resolution in here. Now there will be more resolutions present depending on the item that you have selected. So if I go down into the gear right here, I've got my download settings, which is where it's going to download them to, and I've got my export settings here. So if I click on that, you're going to see that, well, there's an update for Unreal Engine 2.6. I don't really use Unreal a lot. So if I go into, and here's a list of all the 3D applications that you can, that Megascans supports. There's Unreal, there's 3ds Max, Maya, Unity, Blender, Houdini, Cinema 4D, Clarice, Marmoset, Mixer itself, so I can send that to Mixer, and custom socket and export. I've never used those two, but you can export to disk. I don't know what socket export is, never used it. So if I selected now Blender, and there's an update plugin here, so I'm not going to do it because right now, I might do it a bit later. That's how you export it. So once, actually I will, I'll do it right now just to show you. If I update the plugin, it's downloaded successfully. Now, hopefully, later on this morning, when I export it and show you, it won't make a liar out of me. So I go back. The download settings is the format that you want your images to be in. You can actually select EXR or JPEG and EXR, but leave it at JPEG, that's fine. Unique maps per level of detail when available. You can select or deselect any of these you like. With your models, the format that you want to actually export it as, and what sort of asset you want it to be. Okay. Now the documentation on the Quixel site for Megascans Bridge is very comprehensive. I do suggest you go and read it, even if you just go over it in a cursory manner, and just look for the bits that you want to see. Okay. So we will get out of that, and I will minimize this, and I will open Mixer. This is where all the magic happens. You just added a Kiwi to your favourites. Well done. Now, this normally would ask you to log in, but I've got it set to remember me and this machine, so occasionally it asks me to log in again, but not today. Mixer is very similar in many ways to Substance Painter. With Epic acquiring Quixel, Megascans Bridge and Mixer itself, they've thrown a lot of money and resources at both of them, in particular Mixer, which is the free alternative to Substance Painter. And that's one of the reasons that Mixer is getting better and better as time goes on. I mean, up until March this year, it didn't have material. You couldn't import your model and see the material ID. You couldn't see the texture sets. It didn't have UDIMs. It was it wasn't unusable, but it wasn't as robust and as feature rich as Substance. These days, 90% of what you can do in Substance Painter, you can do in Mixer without a problem. You can do it I keep doing that. I'll learn one day. Yeah, you can do 90% of it. There are certain things, and the workflow is very similar. The interface just looks different. Well, they are different between the two. Yes, there's a lot of noise on the World Wide Web about people ditching Substance Painter, Substance Designer, etc., because of what Adobe are doing. And Mixer is a very robust alternative, and it's free. And even the subscription to get points through Quixel is a lot cheaper than the Adobe subscription plan. That I can tell you. A lot cheaper. Less than a quarter. You can do 90% in Mixer that you can do in Substance. There are some areas that Mixer does not do at the moment, okay? One of the biggest areas is you can't bake textures. There is no emission material. So if you had a robot model and you wanted to make his eyes glow, or he's got lights and you want them to emit, as a light or an LED, that's not there. Opacity maps are not there. They are on the list of things that the developers are working on, and they're hoping that by the end of this year, because I read their forums on a regular basis, that by the end of the year, early next year, all three of those will be incorporated into Mixer. You'll be able to bake your textures. You'll have an emission slot. You will have opacity maps will be honoured. But apart from that, it's awesome. You can even export. When you export out of Mixer, whether you've done a surface or you've textured a 3D model, you can export it to disk, or you can export it to your Megascans assets library, or there are many things that you can do with it. It just won't bake them. To create a new mix, you just click the button up here, okay? And then it will ask you where you want, what do you want to call it? I'm just going to call this StreamTube 01. And you can set your resolution. I'll leave it at 4K at the moment, but you can set it as high or as low as you like. And here's the stuff. You can start creating your texture sets right now. You don't have to bring in a model. If you're doing a floor or a wall or a road or a dirt track, you can start here. You can change the size of the plane in here. You can choose which of the 3D meshes that you want to use. You can use a plane, you can use a 3D asset, and that will ask you to go away to your local Megascans library and pick an asset that you want to bring in and re-texture. Sorry, wrong one. You can bring in, I'll show you this one now, a shader ball. Come here. You can put in a shader ball. And much like you would do in a lot of other texturing applications where they use a shader ball or a plane. Unfortunately, they don't have a cube or a sphere, which I was a little surprised about, but that may come. But you can import your own, okay? Navigating the viewport, very important. You can zoom in and out with your mouse wheel. To pan, you push down on the mouse wheel and you can push around. To orbit or rotate in the viewport, hold down the Alt key, or on a Mac, the Command. With your left button, you can orbit around, pan around, orbit around. Now that's the shader ball, okay? And then here is where you actually add all your layers, and I'll go through that in a minute. And I hope I'm not confusing anybody at the moment. But I want to go through the actual interface before we get into bringing in a model or texturing something. It's important to know what's going on. I think I might go back to just using the plane, 2 meters by 2 meters. Up here you can set, much like you do in Substance Painter, metalness. You can just use albedo, metalness, roughness, normal. It depends. A material ID, gloss, specular. I usually leave it at PBR metalness. It seems to work for pretty much everything, but as you get more experienced with it and read, dare I say it once more, the Quixel documentation, you will understand what all of these mean. I don't use them a lot. I just leave it on metalness. This is how you preview the mesh. And this is what I said before. You can have a plane, you can have a sphere. You can have a cube. You can have a cylinder. Pretty cool, hey? So I think we'll just go back to plane for the moment. So that's where you set the what sort of primitive you want to use to start your texturing. Here is preview displacement. Now I'll show you that later, but I can't show you at the moment because there's nothing on it. This will preview the tiling if it's actually a tiled surface. This will turn on the grid or turn off the grid. And that, wherever your mouse is, that's where it will apply. Where if you're painting, wherever your mouse is where you will start painting. You actually can turn it off. I don't know why you'd want to. You can go into a 2D view if you wish. Handy if you're working on UDIMs. And this is where you can set your display lighting, okay? You have, and these are HDRIs. Unfortunately, I don't know a way of adding your own HDRI to Mixer, but you can change the look of the lighting and play around with it. Depending on the model that you're working on and what you're actually doing, you'll get different results. I'll leave it at indoors for the moment. Okay. This is where you can edit the texture sets. You can set your resolution again in here, even though you set it when you started the project. You can set it to another resolution. You can edit your texture sets in here. So if you actually have already have a texture set with your diffuse or albedo, if you like. You've got a displacement map, you've got a normal map, you've got a metalness map, you've got a height map, you've got a ambient occlusion map. You can bring them in here and start playing around with your textures this way, okay? So you've got your, they call it albedo. Albedo is the same as the texture map, the diffuse map. Your metalness, your roughness. Yes, there's a mixer Discord. Join it. Wealth of information on that. I'm a member, so if you join, I'll see you there. You can change your displacement, strength, and all the bits and pieces in here. I usually leave it alone because I can tweak it later when I've got them all in. You can invert the normals after when you import it. Your ambient occlusion, if you've got a curvature, and I'll go through material ID a little later. So this is where you can actually import your maps or existing texture sets, okay? The gear icon is much like any of you that have used Blender and Node Wrangler. If you've used Node Wrangler in the add-on in the free add-on in Blender, this is pretty similar. This is where you can add it's comma delimited names for the maps, okay? So you can, if there's a particular naming convention that you use, you can add them in here and it will go and find them once you tell it what directory to go and look in, okay? And save that. So that's how you edit. And you can do this, not at the start, but you can do it later on too. So it's a two-way street. In your display, you can have a flat background. No, albedo is just diffuse. That's just another name for diffuse. I do believe. I could be wrong, Kiwi. You might be right. You can set it to a gradient. I actually don't use a gradient a lot. I don't see a lot of difference between that and the flat. You can set it to a skybox, which can get a bit intense. Depends what you want to do. I don't use, you can blur the background, you can change the field of view. It's entirely up to you. You can actually change if I go back to the flat, you can change the grid color in here. So if I wanted a blue, if I wanted a blue, it's going to make a liar out of me, isn't it? Grr. Anyway, you can change it in here. GPU tessellation, I would, depending on your graphics card, mine seems to work best on 2, but if you've got a high-end 2080, 3080, 2070, 3090, or you've got 2 of them, you can set it up a lot higher. Mine seems to work on 2 or 3, so I don't play around with it. You can change your shadow resolution in here to high or off, so you don't have any shadows at all. In performance, viewport resolution is full, 60 FPS or 30. I leave it on 60. Blur, don't really use the blur. Downsample textures is off. If I set it on, whenever I export, it will reduce the size of the texture. Okay. Baked layers, that's on when you export it. All the bits and pieces of a layer, it will put together in one texture map. Okay. It's not the same as baking in Substance. It's just not. Okay. You can play around with these. I really don't use that a lot. Okay. Export. Export target custom. Now this is, this is where if I exported, and I'll show you in where this is, I can export to the Megascans library under custom, and that will be the asset name in here. You can, and that's where my Megascans library is kept. Okay. Now, once you've exported it to your Megascans library, it becomes available in Megascans Bridge. So then you can export it to other 3D applications. That's the way it works. From Mixer to Megascans to your 3D application. You can choose in here whether you want metalness or specular maps. You can choose which ones of these that you want it to export. What resolution down here you want to export it as. And you can actually export it to disk. Now, I don't know why it did that. Okay. You can open the folder after export, so it will show you what it's done. I shouldn't have clicked that button. You can send it to straight to a library. Type is surface, and that will put it in the Megascans library itself, not in the custom area, which is called local on your Megascans library bridge. It will put it in the surface asset or displacement or a 3D asset if you're working on a 3D asset. Okay. All gets a bit complicated, but the more you use it, the easier. I mean, you will get your head around it. Anybody that's used or it started using Substance Painter will understand what I'm talking about here. If you've never used Substance Painter, doesn't matter, you'll get used to it. And now we have the layers. Now I haven't set up any layers in here, but you can you can set one up here. You can add a surface. You can create a layer set, and this will become more apparent as I go through Mixer and the importance of layer sets. For each material zone on your 3D model or 3D on your surface, you create a texture set for each of the material zones, which will become clearer in a minute. You can add a surface layer, you can add a decal, smart material, which will take you to the local smart material library. You can add a solid color, you can add a liquid layer, you can add a noise layer, so that a lot of the, that's a black and white map. You can add a paint layer and paint with texture paint brushes. Excuse me. Down the bottom here, you have your mask, and you can create masks. And when I get into texture painting, I'm going to show you how important masks become, because you can actually use displacement with a mark, just with an albedo or a diffuse map, to create a 3D effect. Easier to show than to explain. In here is your material ID. If anybody has had a model that hasn't got material zones, you can actually create material IDs by selecting different parts of the mesh, assign a material ID to it, particularly in Blender, and then bake that out as a material ID, usually different colors, and Mixer will honor it on the material ID. I'm going to show you what a material ID, once you've baked one, how you can use it, but if you're going to take the time in a 3D application like Blender or Cinema 4D or Lightwave or whatever it is you're using, if you're going to take the time to create the material ID per mesh area, it's just as easy to create dummy materials per mesh area and then use the material zones. But you could come across instances where you may have downloaded a freebie model that doesn't have any textures associated with it. It hasn't got any material zones, and all they've provided you is with a material ID map. That is when it would come in very handy. You can paint a mask on this layer, on any layer actually, whatever layer you've chosen, you can paint a mask on it, much the same way you do in Photoshop, okay? And here is where you add groups. Pretty much the same as in Substance and in Photoshop. If you've used Photoshop, you can put your layers into a group and turn them on and off and add effects to them. Whatever layer or effect you have chosen in here, this is where you get rid of it. Very similar to Photoshop. Yeah, so if I now was to add, let's just add a solid color. Oop, okay. And I will, I'll get rid of this, sorry. And I add a solid color in here, and then just go in and change the color to, I don't know, sort of a orangey color. Okay. I can then create a paint layer. And that's once, see, if you click here, your painting brushes go away. Once you click on the paint layer, your painting brushes all appear. Okay. Now I can't resize this for some weird reason. This is where all your brushes are, and they live in the folders that you set up when you first installed Mixer and Bridge, where you're keeping your Megascans library and your Mixer library. They'll be in the same place. I'll show you that as well. You can choose the brush hard, brush soft. These are the standard brushes that come with Mixer. These are all the shapes that you can use. But you can actually add your own. Okay, these are some that I've added myself. There's a couple here that I actually downloaded for free, and I'll post that in my Discord channel. Yes, it does, Kiwi. It certainly does. It's by material zone and texture set. So it does respect vertex painting. Vertex, not vertexed. Now, where's my chaos brush? Is that the one? If I select that. Yes, it is. Now, all the settings down here are very, very similar to Substance Painter. A lot of these names won't mean a great deal to you. They don't really mean a great deal to me, but it's the amount of distortion, I do believe. Down here you can actually change the displacement strength, and you can turn these off as well and turn them back on again. At the bottom you've got raised displacement and the keyboard shortcut key for it. Lower the displacement or set the displacement. Now that affects how you paint with your brush. Now if I set the displacement up very high. Now this is a brush that I created. Where you can actually go in. Don't tell me you're going to crash. And you can create all these different effects. Okay, on your surface layer, which is absolutely outstanding. And I can raise it right up. So you can add all of these effects with your brushes, and you can change the colors. Apply to that. No, it didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work. Oh, it must be me. Apply. Yep, there it is. Now it worked. Now to change the size of your brush, yes, the brush is from Megascans. Do they work in Mixer? Yes, they do. They do. Yes, they do. To change your brush size, and I'm going to post a link to the Quixel Mixer page for a list of their keyboard shortcuts. Displacement creates the 3D effect. Yes, Daria, any asset that you create here, you can move into Unreal Engine. To change your brush size, hold down, press down on the middle mouse button, hold down the S key and push your mouse forward and backwards. That will change your brush size. Okay, and then you can click or you can drag. So you can create some marvelous effects with on your paint layer using different brushes. What's the one here? That's rubble. Okay, this is one I created, and it just creates fascinating rubble. Okay, looks like a chocolate chip cookie. You're dead right. Now you've got two modes up the top left hand corner here. This is paint and this is erase. Now the shortcut for that is the E key, which will go into erase. You can, as I said, hold down the middle mouse button with the S key, push it out, and whatever you've done here you can erase. So if you're not happy with it, you can get rid of it. And then the B key to go back to your brush. Okay. Now you can put a paint layer on top of anything else and then you can brush it in, particularly if you're going to use, and I'll show you what a robot model I've got. If you're going to, say, have a robot. Yes, pretty much. Feral, it does. You've got a robot that's in a bit of state of disrepair and he's got dirt all over him and he's scratched, he's been sitting in a basement warehouse. You can use brushes on a paint layer to add scratches, to add discoloration, to add dirt, to add mud. Very, very powerful. But don't forget, some of the stuff that you need to know to do that or to achieve that is far more advanced than I can show you in a 2-hour session today. So I'm just going to go through the basics, so give you a head start. You can create your own brushes. Now, to create a brush that you can use in Mixer, the background has to be black, and whatever the shape is that you're wanting to use has to be white. So they are pure black and white image. Much like if I go into local brushes. See, these are black and white. Where's the one I made? Mixer. There's one I made, that's scratches, and I made that in Photoshop. Here's another one that I made called Smear Paint. No shades of grey, just black and white. Black and white only. And you can create your own by clicking. If I get rid of that and it goes to nothing, in here you can see as soon as there's a little folder. So I can go in and load an image, and if I go to the right place, yeah, that's just the way they're displayed, Brian. They are black and white. They're not grey. They have to be black and white. Otherwise, where am I going? Megascans. Megascans custom brush. Yeah. Yeah, large icons. As you can see, they're all black and white, and they have to be black and white. I looked it up. If we do cracks, and I'll import cracks. Okay. Now I've got cracks here, and I can change the color to red. Apply. You did go red, didn't you? Yes. And color. And I've got the displacement too high, so I'll just get rid of that. Go back into B. Go down here. Change that. And there is a shortcut key for this somewhere. Maybe. So I can actually, and then you end up with cracks. And this is texture painting basically. And you can add displacement to it, or you can drop it off to 0 and it will just, by using the raised displacement, it means when you click, it's going to go up. When you lower, it's going to go down. And when you set it, whatever's in here, that's what it will use. It will be flat, okay? And I can set that back up again to somewhere around there. And you're creating cracks. Now, on another surface, these would look awesome. On this surface, they look pretty terrible. But that's using the brushes. Now, once I've got that brush loaded, because I just used down here and I brought it in, I can actually save it and give it a name, okay? So that the next time I open Mixer, it will be available because it's in the library and it will be part of the brushes in Mixer. So don't be frightened to make your own brushes. Any shapes you like, get used to them. You can change the size of the jittering. See, it's very subtle, but the angle, and yeah, you'll get used to it. Brushes, paint layers are they're the basis of texture painting, and that's what it's all about. So, what was I talking about before? Yeah, groups. If I wanted to create a group to put all of these in now, I could just add a group and then drag all of these into the group. Okay. And I can drag that into the texture set. So it's now part of that. And you can rename it, double click, and call this, and it only does it in capital letters for some weird reason. Okay, so now you can have them in groups. And you can layer it and layer it, layer upon layer, and it can get very, very complicated. Okay. If I wanted to now, I could come into here and add a water layer. Let's go out, change that to street lights. And I can change the threshold so that the water, and I don't have anything 3D in here, so I'll show you with another mix how the liquid layer works, how the noise layer works. Okay, but for right now, I'm going to close Mixer down and open it up again, and I don't want to save that. Oh yes, I will. Okay, just going to close it down, and then I'm going to show you material ID, UDIMs in your texture sets, material zones, etc, etc, etc. But for right now, I'm going to take a 5 or 6 or 7 minute comfort and coffee break. So if you would all like to join me in 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, I will see you shortly. And I'm back. Now I'm going to, I've wet my whistle, I've got a cup of coffee. I'm going to open Mixer again. If I can click on it properly. And show you how to do to use the material IDs. I'm going to create a new mix here. I'll just call it Plinth 2, that'll do. Oh, before I do that, one thing I wanted to show you was under Preferences. These are your paths to where your Quixel mixer stuff will live. Your projects, your mixes, presets, brushes, etc., etc. And that's local stuff. That's not out in the Megascans asset library. Your local library where your Megascan stuff lives, stuff that you download, assets that you create in Mixer and export to Megascans, it's where they all live, okay? And if you wanted to change it after you've installed both of these, you just have to select it, change it. But before you do, make sure that you look where this stuff's is, and you go and find them in Explorer, File Explorer, and then move them to the new folder on another drive, and then you can select them from here. User interface, I suggest when you first start, you leave the tooltips on, very handy. If you have a high definition monitor like I do, which is 4K ultra high, you can scale it. Otherwise, your whole display will look tiny, teeny, weeny, weeny. Proxy setup, don't use it. System info, this will just tell you the graphics card that you're using, the operating system, how much RAM you've got, the version of OpenGL, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Your maximum texture size, shader levels, all the rest of it. Okay? So that's got preferences out of the way. Okay. What was I going to do? Yes, bring in a custom model. Under here, if I go 3D Asset, it will take me to the Megascans library and I can bring one of theirs in. But I want to bring in a custom model. Okay, now you can bring them in two formats, OBJ and FBX. It's entirely up to you. If you bring in an FBX of something that's been rigged, you won't see the rig or the armature, but you will see the mesh. Okay, now I've got to find out, where did I put the plinth? Right, it's in Blender projects. Oh, stop it. Models, tempels. Now this is something I just quickly put together to show you. If you've got no material zones and the model is all just one big mesh with no material zones, you can actually come over to here into edit texture sets. Okay, now this is where you either use a single from materials or from UDIMs. I can't show you UDIMs because I don't use UDIMs, but if you do, it's the same as using your materials, where you'll have a list of all the material zones on your geometry. But instead of having names, they will have, 1001, 1002. So if you're used to working with UDIMs, that's the one you would select. From now, I'm just going to go for materials. And down in the bottom here, you can see it's got material ID. So in the same folder where the OBJ was for this plinth, I actually created a bake to material ID in Blender specifically for this exercise. Okay. So when I go back into layers now, and it looks a bit weird in the display, because at the moment, layer set 1 is showing just the base itself, which is this down the bottom. Now, to manipulate each of these zones from the material ID, and I'll actually show you what a material ID looks like in different colours. Come here. What are you doing? Thank you. That is the material ID for the plinth. Okay, I'll just zoom out a bit. For the plinth. Now, I assigned them in Blender. Now, I'm not going to go through how to create a material ID in Blender or any 3D application. I will post a link to a YouTube video that's extremely good on how you create material IDs for geometry in Blender. But that's a material ID there, okay? Now, to manipulate each of these zones, as I'm going to call them, material zones in the material ID, you have to create a a layer set. Now, I'm going to call this one base. I'm going to create another one, drag it down the bottom, turn base off, turn plinth on, and call this plinth, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Get off. Thank you. And make that upstand. And this is pretty much how you work with not just material IDs, but with material zones as well. The principle here is exactly the same. So I'll just create another layer set. I'll drag it underneath. Oops, turn that off, turn that on, call it edging. Okay, so now I go into here and you can see it's activating each of the zones or the material IDs for the layer sets in here. If I wanted to see them all at the same time, I create another layer set and call this, I just call it model, and activate all of them. Okay, now I can see all of them. So I can turn these off, turn them on, and I can toggle between the three of them. Okay, now I can add different colors to each of these layer sets per texture set. Okay, now right down the bottom here you can see there's material ID. This is going to help you understand what color is associated with which texture set. There you go. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. I'll get to it. Hang on. So if I go into base, and now I add a solid color, Going to albedo, make that red. That's red. I could then go into plinth, create a solid color, go over to the actual color itself, make that blue. Whoops. Make that blue. I can go to the upstand, create another solid color, make that something horrible like green, and with the edging do the same thing. Now this applies to all the different layers that you can assign. If you wanted to add a decal or an atlas, or you wanted to add a smart material, or you wouldn't add a liquid layer to it, but if you wanted to add noise, or if you wanted to paint something on one of these zones, this is how you add them, okay? If I want to see them all at once, I just click on the model up the top, because that's got all of these texture sets activated. As I click through all of these, you can see which one is activated with each, layer set. Okay, and this is how you work in Mixer. Very, very similar to Substance Painter, and I do believe they've done it on purpose. So, okay, where's the D? That's the top. Where's the base plinth? The plinth. Where do I want? No, I don't want that. I want the upstand, so I want that. So let's, for argument's sake, I wanted us to paint on that layer. I would add a paint layer. Okay. Now I can go in now and I can go and put a mask on this. Oh, you grr. Sorry, I got that wrong. I take it all back. I can add a paint layer now and select, let's just select cracks. We'll change the color to something that we can see. Apply. And now I can actually change the size of that, and I can play around with the displacement. This is lower, which means it's going to create an indentation. If I made it raise, it would bring it out, as in like a bump, okay? So now I can, but the displacement was far too high. So now I have to go into E, erase all of that, turn the displacement down, oops, go into brush so I can see what I'm doing, turn the displacement right down, and now I can add cracks. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Didn't want to do that at all. But you can see the effect that actually is giving you. So, but if I change the green in here to, I don't know, sort of a grey colour, you get the idea. Okay? And you can see it's slightly raised, even though it looks a bit wonky. I'm not the best at doing this, but this is the technique that you would do. Now, if I click on that, that's an opacity map. What am I doing? Displacement. Let me load a displacement map. Now, where did I put that? Okay. Textures. It's not what I was looking for. Where did I put it? I was only looking at it this morning and I've forgotten where I've put it. I thought it was in here. Floors, is it in here? No. Bear with me while I find what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. No, it wasn't. Yes, it is. Whoops. We'll get rid of that. Too strong. I think we'll avoid that for the moment. Oh dear. So that's using material IDs. Now, as I said, this is really only the basics. I'm not getting into anything advanced. On my next stream on Monday, I will do some more advanced techniques. I mean, this particular model is not real. It doesn't lend itself to some of the techniques that I'm going to show you. Yes, some of the techniques that I was going to show you. Let me open a mix, if I can remember where I put it. Surfaces, no. Yes, cement tiles. No, I don't want to save it. This is a technique that you can use if you've only got a diffuse color map or an albedo map, call it what you like. I do believe they're the same thing. In AEST can actually create displacement without actually having a displacement map. Okay, buddy, thank you for coming. I'm glad you enjoyed it. What I am going to do when this session is over, bye DZ, is I'm going to take the video before the problem I had and the video after it, and I will edit them and then upload them to YouTube. So I'll take out the rubbish in the middle. Now this is how to create a displacement without having a displacement map. Okay. It's as you can see, it's pretty raised. Now, depending on what you click on within the layers here, if I click on that, it's just going to show me the color and anything else that I may have attached to it. But if I click on this little icon here, which is actually a normal map, right? Which I've done with a mask. And I go to the image, and I can't remember how I loaded it. Yes, up here. Add a mask to the component. And I used a color image, a diffuse image, so that I could actually change what they call the clamp value. Now, if I zoom in a bit, oops, and show you that as I change the clamp value, it's going to do exactly the same as if I had a diffuse map and a displacement map. Okay, so if I keep changing this, you can see the higher it gets, it goes up. But we want to get it down to a respectable level, which is about there. Okay, so when you come out, it's actually giving you that the illusion of displacement. You could do it with a normal layer set using, if I turn on the paint layer, which has a displacement map attached to it, where I can alter the strength. So if I turn that off, you can see that's using just the displacement map. Yes, they are tileable. You can see they're very, very, very close together. So I can change the displacement strength in here. And that's using a displacement map. Okay. Or I can turn that off and turn that back on, and they're very much the same. Yes, you can, Ferrell. You can save them together. That's what happens when you export them into your Megascans library for you to export to your preferred 3D application. All the export function does in Megascans Bridge for each of the 3D applications is it prepares all of the texture maps and all of the effects that you've added. It prepares them for the particular application so that it will accept it and it knows what they are and where to put them. So for instance, if you were exporting to Blender, it's different. The exporter does its magic in the background, as opposed to Maya, which uses a slightly different system. So does Houdini. I don't understand what you mean, Daria, about a slider to adjust. In your target 3D application, where you export to, they will all have the sliders so that you can play around with increasing the displacement, increasing or decreasing the color value of your diffuse map. Yes, it will be in your target application. Well, you have displacement in DAZ Studio too. If you look properly, it's in there. But this is a technique, and I'll go through this in more detail in the next stream on actually how you create this. But I want to get into bringing in a model that has a lot of, yes, like Substance has adjustments, exactly. I want to bring in a model now so you can see all the material zones. Okay. Robots. This was actually exported. This was a free Blender file, and I'll put a link to this as well. I won't save that. It's a fully rigged little robot in here. It's fully rigged in Blender anyway. I might open Blender in a minute and show you. So right at the moment, when I brought it in, all of these have your texture sets. And texture sets in here, your target texture sets really does mean your material zones that were created in the 3D application of your choice, okay? So for layer set 1, I'm just going to create the armor, or activate the armor. Now I will create again layer set 2. That's layer set 1. Take that on, turn that off, and I'll name that armor main. Come into here, armor sec, create another one, drag him down, deactivate that, call that light, create another one. And you can move them around. You don't have to have them in the order that move, I say. Make that the shoes. You don't have to have them in the order that that I'm doing them. You can move them around anywhere you like. And make that piston. Okay, so now we can go through. We've got armor main, armor sec, secondary, light, shoe, piston. Now they're all associated, these layer sets are associated with each of the material sets or material zones. And you can do exactly the same with it. I can create another one up here, call that Ronot, I can't spell. Robot, all for all intents and purposes, and turn them all on, okay? Very similar technique to Substance Painter, where you can turn them on, turn them off, and just work on different areas of geometry with your textures. I like to keep the names similar from the layer set to the texture set, so then you know exactly what you're working with. And I'll work on the armor main now. The zoom in, zoom out feature of this is it's rather sensitive, and I can't find a way of changing the sensitivity. This is where it gets interesting, because we can now go to our local library. Okay, now these are all the materials that I've either imported or created, which are in my library. Now, when it finishes doing what it's doing, not responding. Come on. You can select, excuse me, which areas you want to look at. Surfaces, atlas, which is basically 2D images, 3D assets, imperfections, scratches, dents, etc., displacements, or smart materials. Now, when you install Mixer the first time, it's going to ask you to select, I think there's 6 tick boxes for you to install the smart materials. Yeah, my library is very large. I'm not quite sure about the scale. I think it honours it. I think it just honours the scale. So when you send it back, it's exactly the same. I'm not quite sure about that, Chris. I think it's unitless. Like Blender is really. Blender, you can set it to unitless, so it will accept anything. So if I just select smart materials, these are all the, excuse me, these are all the smart materials that you get when you load. I do suggest when you install Mixer that you do select all the tick boxes and install all the smart materials. You'll be very disappointed if you don't. And you can apply these Well, it's yes, it is Kiwi, but also it's a case of my machine is it's grabbing this from my NAS device over the Ethernet through my switch. So there's a bit of a lag or a network overhead, I should say. If you have it on a local disk in your desktop, it will be a lot faster. It's just that I'm going over the network I have here, which is all Ethernet. So there's a bit of an overhead there. It's like grabbing files in a corporate environment from a file server. There's a bit of a lag. So you can add these smart materials directly onto your model, okay? You can also go to the online tab, and this is all the stuff that you have available to you in the Megascans library, okay? And you can go through them and knock yourself out. You can even download them. If you're logged in with Epic, you can click on them and it will download them. All free. If you log in with your Epic account, they're all free. Totally free. But as I said before, the caveat to that is if you use your Epic account to log in, you are restricted to using these and exporting to Unreal Engine. If you want to use them in any other 3D application, such as Blender, Maya, Houdini, etc., etc., you should use your Quixel account. Now, I have both, so it covers me. If I'm going to work in Blender and use all of these assets, I log in using my Quixel account. If I'm working with Unreal, which I do rarely, I log in with my Epic account. It just covers you. So, but if you log in with your Quixel account, it doesn't stop you exporting to Unreal. You just can export anyway. But even with your Epic account, it doesn't stop you from exporting. You're just breaching the license. These are all your online stuff. So local library, let me just pick old and damaged. I just click on it. And it will go away and it will load this smart material to the robot. Now, it will take a while because these are all procedural. Okay. Now I can go to the Armour secondary, which is basically innards. Go over to my local library and make that something that we can see. That'll do. Okay, so now we have a red one. Now I can go now robot all, and that's red and scratched. Okay. Now this is preview displacement, so you can see that the displacement is being previewed. I can turn it off. Okay. I can also preview the tiling here, so it will show you how the tiling is getting on. If I just zoom in a bit. See what I mean by the zooming is very sensitive. I wish they'd fix it. I'm going to post a note on the put a post on the Quixel forums for Mixo about the sensitivity of zooming in and zooming out. And I'll take the tiling off, and I might actually get rid of might get rid of that because I don't like it. And wrong one. And add something else. Moldy plastic, that'll do. And you can create your own paint layers and paint over the top. No. No, I can't click it down. There's no key to hold. I can't hold the control key. Nothing really happens. The shift key, see, even the shift key, it's still a bit wonky. Yeah. But if I wanted to on the armour, I could actually now create a paint layer on the top. I tried Alt and it just goes weird. So, yeah, I know it's a bit hard. What's a bit hard to see, Brian? Sublayers are, yes, they are slightly indented, yes. What's a bit hard to see? I don't understand. Oh, the sublayers, yes, they are. Now, if I, select that's the armour secondary, which is what I want to see. And I'll just up there. If I select here, I can now, hard to differentiate. Oh, you'll get used to it. I find it difficult to, yes, in a way, Daria. They're already created for you, so you can use them in Unreal or whatever. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this one. I can create a paint layer now on top of that, and I can start painting on this. So if I go to a nice soft brush. Nice soft brush. Put a solid layer underneath it. Oh, that's because I'm in erase. Salt trap for young players. Oh no, let's go a nice orangey colour. Oh yeah, come down a bit and then can I zoom in? Can I zoom in? No. It's a bit freaky. I can start painting. Oh, come on. I can start painting on here. Get rid of that. Go away. I can paint on the layer. Well. And you can create awesome effects. If you're going to paint, at all, I suggest you use a graphics tablet. I mean, I've got one in front of me, but yes, I normally paint with my Wacom tablet in Mixer, but I don't have it connected at the moment. So next session, next stream, I'll actually do that. I'll paint with that. So this is just to give you the basics of what you can actually do. Oh, bringing in DAS characters is probably... Can you put a mask over a solid layer and paint the mask? Yes, Brian, you can. I'll show you next session in the next stream how you can do that. Yeah, I do believe it is, Chris. 1 equals 1 centimetre. Yes, because most of you are DAS users here, other than Brian, who's ditched it. What was I going to do? Yes, bring in a DAS character and show you. I've already got one, and show you that it actually honours the material zones. Let me do before I go. DAS Studio. Leave. Yeah, exactly, Brian. What's DAS? This is going to take a while to open. And yes, she has clothes on. Before you all start freaking out. And hopefully it doesn't crash like it did the other day. Yes, don't want to anger the Twitch gods. Oh, you're modding for Jay? Oh, for Jay I do. Are you modding for Jay in his stream? Well, I'll tell you what, Kiwi, I'll do one just for you on Picato where you'll see the skin pores, okay? Oh, Daria, what can I say? I didn't create the model. Cool, Brian, you have fun with that. What time's it on, Brian? It's probably on in the wee hours of the morning for me. You live in realism. I don't. I live in the art world where nothing's what it should be. Oh, my graphics card having a hissy fit. Okay. I think you probably all recognise well, if it's tomorrow, that will be Friday. No, what's today? Saturday, Sunday. It'll be Saturday. This is my little bit character, which is lagging badly for some reason. Ugh, that's better. You're not 4 days ahead of you. Jeez, Brian. Now, when I imported little bit here, it honoured all the texture sets that come with it, and my system is lagging badly at the moment. I've got a lot of dropped frames and skipped frames, so hopefully it's not too bad your end, guys. And this is where, Kiwi, you can actually add layers and add your tattoos and stuff to certain areas of the skin. Yeah, Quixel Mixer's going a bit nuts. Well, I'm just about finished, so oh, okay, you didn't notice. Fine. Hopefully it's not in the recording either. So you can bring them in with the full texture sets from DAS Studio. I did bring in a Genesis 8 the other day. Just about, it actually crashed Mixer, but it might just be my system. So that's pretty much it from me for the basics of Mixer and Megascans Bridge. Next stream, I'll go through some more advanced techniques. I'll hook up my graphics tablet and we'll do some texture painting. We'll do some masking. We'll start adding some effects so that you get the full experience of what Mixer can do. Apart from the fact that it doesn't bake textures or have an emission surface, do paint layer handle displacement? Yes. Kiwi, yes. I'm glad you liked it, Brian. It's a very good alternative to Substance Painter, particularly for people that you can't afford the subscription from Adobe, which they seem to be putting the price up all the time, and messing around with it, the licensing. What it will look like in the future, I don't know, but what I can assure you is that with Epic owning Quixel now, I can only see Mixer getting better and better and better and better, and dare say I will predict that in a year from now, it's probably going to be Substance's main competitor. It's just going to get better and better, as it has since I first started using it 2 and a bit years ago. So I'm glad you all got something out of it, and you now know the basics. Very, very straightforward to use. I do strongly recommend that you just play with it. Have some fun with it. You learn more about it playing with it than you do any other way. Also, I will post a list or post links on Discord in my Mixer channel to all the Mixer videos on YouTube that I believe are worth watching. There are some horrible ones there, but there are probably 8 to 10 that are superb. You will learn a lot, and they're well presented. The horrible ones I won't list. So yes, it is. Yes, it is a lot cleaner. I find Substance Painter complicated. The interface is just too busy for me. So I think that's, yes, Discord. I'm going to put it on my Discrod or Discrod, whatever you like. Shout out. I've got to set them up. I haven't had time. Yeah, well, I still have one of the old versions. I still have one of the old versions of Substance Painter before they went to the license with the before they went to subscription, and I still prefer it. It just doesn't do a lot of things. So Discord link. Oh, my Discord link. Oh, I've got that somewhere. I'll do it next stream. Yeah, I think that's it from me for today, for this session. I truly do hope you all got something out of it. I know I enjoyed presenting it. If I was to do it step by step for each different part, I'd be streaming until midnight. So yeah, we'll do it again next session. We'll get more into the heavier side of it and do more detail and more of the complicated, more technical stuff. So next stream is Monday for me, Sunday for you. Okay, so the next stream will be Monday the 9th of August, which will be will be Sunday. No, sorry. Tuesday the 10th, which will be Monday the 9th for you guys. I'll post it on my Discord. So, yeah. If you look on my mixer, yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't do it all in one go. Besides, you wouldn't take it all in if I was to sit here and do it for 12 hours. If you look on my mixer channel under schedule, you'll see where my streaming schedule is. So anyway, guys, I'm going to bid you adieu and see you anon. Take care, be good, have fun. Catch you all soon. And I'll catch some of you guys on the Saturday night social chat. Okay? Okay. Ciao for now, guys. Bye.